Welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Talk Windies Cricket. I'm excited to share all that I have for you in this podcast, and I want to thank you for continuing to show me some level of support. This weekend was a interesting one. I have quite a bit of news to share for you with you, and we gotta start off with West Indies. Men, they were able to draw that series, so we're gonna be talking a little bit about that. We're gonna take a look at the women and how they were able to beat Bangladesh at home and take the series in the ODI tournament. We're gonna take a look at our under 19 women who did not perform well in the current World Cup going on right now. And we're gonna take a look at some regional news, including how well things are going for the CPL. So let's go into it. The West Indies men has humiliated Pakistan. And I know some persons will sit here and say, what humiliation are you talking about? They simply drew the series. And yes, it was a drawn series, but it was a series where, you know, nobody really expected West Indies to win that series. Um, or even to win a game for that matter, knowing very well that it's going to be a spin friendly surface. I myself had some reservations and was a bit skeptical as to how we would perform. I was not expecting, period, that it would have been so competitive and such an exciting test match. And I know a lot of people had issues with the ground and the fact that it was so friendly to spin and so forth. It's been a while that I have looked at and watched an entertaining test match. An entertaining test match does not have to last 5 days. Okay? Sometimes watching a team bat for 2 days is not really that much entertaining, especially if they're gonna be going at a 25% strike rate. Okay? So I'm all for the exciting many wickets being taken in a day. Uh, you know, it's easier when you're on the winning side. But yeah, it's nice to see that West Indies bowlers are capable of bowling teams out. You know, we struggled with that for quite a while, especially in Asia. We just couldn't bowl teams out. You know, and that was as a reason, and that led to us getting knocked out of test matches within 3 days. You know, because teams would just bat first and declare. And even if they bat second, they bat so quickly, you know, we still can't put up the runs to match them, whatever they put up. So I'm thankful, I'm happy that the team did not give up after the first test and they continue to trust the bowling. They try to refine the batting, even though they know that it will not be the best batting performance that they can, but they had the belief if they can show some fight and put some runs on the board, regardless of how those runs come along, they trust their bowling to at least do some damage. And that's exactly what happened in the second test match. West Indies won the toss and they batted first. That was crucial. That may have been the deciding factor. They batted first. They scored a miserly 163 runs, but Pakistan was not able to do better than that. They only scored 154 runs, giving West Indies a 9-run lead, which is not much. It's not something to dance and scream about and shout about, but it meant that we were going into the second innings of the test match with a lead, and that meant that it was a confidence booster for the team. It said to the team, guys, you know what? If we can put up a competitive total, we may have a chance. And they came into the second innings with a purpose. It was really nice to see Craig Bradford, the captain, leading from the front this time around and showing why he is still being considered as one of the first names on that list every time a selection is made. Notwithstanding, he's the captain of the team, but that does not mean because he's the captain, he has to play every game. So I'm very happy to see that he came out and scored 50, and I'm happy about that. And that basically set the tone for the other batsmen to chip in. You know, go out there and try to graft as many as you can and put in some form of competitive total and let our bowlers do the rest. West Indies had a slight scare in the bowling department because Kemar Roach got injured. So, and remember, he took 2 wickets in the first inning, so he could not take part in the second innings because of that the groin injury that he received. So West Indies had to only depend on the free spinners. That was it. We relied only on our spinners to bowl Pakistan out for a total that was less than what they scored in the first innings, 143 runs. And this is what the captain, Craig Bradford, had to say. We haven't won here in a while. So to come here and do it as a young group is incredible. On this pitch, there's a ball with your name on it. It was a good experience. When you get on better pitches, you can have similar mindset and it will help you in the long run. Well, that's left to be seen. That West Indies will be able to put up such an aggressive mindset in their batting in other situations. I don't think we have the squad for it, so I'm not going to put my hopes up on that one. I just want to mention that in the first test, we may have lost the plot a little bit. I think not debuting um, Amir Django, in the first test may have contributed to us losing that first test. I didn't see what impact Mikhail Lewis had on this test match at all, but it won't be fair to single him alone out because so many of our top six batsmen did not perform well. But the point is, he looked absolutely clueless. He looked absolutely clueless, and he would definitely be one of those players that I would have dropped for that particular test series and give Django that position and have Afanis so that it gives us that left right combination at the top. Have Afanis open and Django come in as a number 5 or 6 batsman on the team instead. So moving on, let's talk about who was the outstanding performers, and there's none other but Jomel Warrican. He was absolutely fantastic in this test series, totaling 19 wickets, 10 in the first innings in a losing effort, and 9 in the second, 10 in the first test match, I should say, not innings, 10 in the first test match, and 9 in the second test match. Um, and as a result of that, he was named not only the man of the match, but also the man of the series. So that was a very good performance by Jomel Warrican from Barbados. And a lot of persons, you know, question whether he should have been on the team, but if you were an added follower of West Indies cricket, you would have known that West Indies tend to bring Warwican with them whenever they travel to Asia. So that's something that West Indies have always done in the past. They've brought in extra spinners whenever they go to Asia, and Jamel Warwican has always been one of those spinners that they bring along. I noticed some persons were saying that if Cornwall was available, well, not available, he is available, he just was not selected. If Cornwall was selected, this would have been an even better victory for West Indies because he's such a good spinner. And I can't predict what would have happened if Cornwall was there or not, but I will say that I don't think it's fair for Cornwall to not be on that team. And I know in the past persons have highlighted that he has fitness issues because of his size. However, this is a game of sport. Results matter. I would take the person who is putting in the work and giving me results than the person who is fit and is not putting in the results. So my hat goes off to Cornwall, and I hope that at some point in time the selectors will make better decisions with respect to this individual, as long as he can continue to perform well in the championship, and that is coming up tomorrow. So I really hope that he puts in a good performance and that the incoming coach will take a look at this individual and assess his performance and see whether it merits a recall. I will be vouching for him because I think he has something to give to West Indies cricket, and I don't think his size should be the only metric that is being used to determine whether he should be on the team or not. I think he can be a valuable asset to us because he's good with the bat as well. So congratulations to Jomel Roricon. Kudos to you. Brilliant performance. I was very, very impressed by your skill level to adjust your bowling to the conditions. Something that Sinclair, who did well in the second Test match, um, struggled to do. So whereas he took key wickets, I did not want to undermine the performance of Sinclair. He took some very important wickets for West Indies. But you could see that he was not able to adjust properly to the conditions. It required a slower pace of bowling, and Sinclair struggled with bowling slower. He was very effective in his consistency in terms of his line and his length, but the batsman used his pace quite a bit against him. Uh, Also, Gudakesh Moti, he, in my opinion, whilst he was not struggling as much as Sinclair in terms of controlling his pace, his consistency in line and length was not always there. He threw up quite a bit of full tosses every now and then. I don't know what's going on with Gudakesh Modi. Sometimes he's on when he's sound and he's in the zone, he's unplayable. But then sometimes he just bowls so short. It's like it's just not consistent enough to be a top class test spinner. Test cricket requires high level of consistency, and that's something he would have to work on if he wants to be among one of the best spinners for West Indies in Test cricket. But I still like the dude. All right, as I mentioned, the captain Craig Bradford, he put on a half century. And if I just go back a bit, I just want to highlight that Jomel Warwick's contribution was not only with the ball. It's important that I highlight that. Jamel Warrican's contribution was also with the bat. He scored 36 runs not out in the first innings and scored 18 runs in the second innings. All valuable runs by a tail ender, or what they call now um, lower order batsmen. You know, all those new Dragons now. They don't want to call them tail enders. Trev Bradford, he scored 9 in the first innings, not good at all, but he was able to make up for that in the second innings, setting the tone for us with a brave 52 runs. Gudakesh Modi also had a half century, and that was in the first innings, 55. Also took 3 wickets with the ball in that first innings. In the second innings, he scored 18 and 2 wickets. Both innings, the contributions were valuable by Gudakesh Modi. And as I said, his bowling was not the best that I've seen from him. And despite being on a friendly spinning wicket, I just think he needs to work on his consistency a little bit more, get pitching that ball in the right area for a lot longer than what he demonstrated. But all in all, he's a cricketer that I am impressed with, and I hope to see him grow in that regard. So, why was this win so important for West Indies? It was so important as a West Indian fan, and I would say for West Indies cricket on a whole, for us to at least win a game in Pakistan. Because it took us 34 years before we could have won in Pakistan. 34 years, guys. Look at that. And we did the similar thing almost a year ago in Australia, where we defeated them after 27 years in Australia. So, defeat Australia in Australia took us 27 years to do that, and 34 years to beat Pakistan. So what that means is during the time of the latter part of Lara, Sawan, Chandapal, we didn't win any test matches in these countries. Okay? So that should tell you something. And that's not to knock down on the potency of these players, but it also shows you that West Indies cricket, in some instances, we underestimate the talent of the squad that we have now. And while I don't think our batsmen are at the level of Sawan Chandapal and Brian Lara by any stretch of the imagination, I would say our bowlers, our current crop of bowlers, both in the spinning department and in the pace department, can give a good run to the bowlers that we had back in those days. The bowling was quite a bit of a weakness for West Indies back in that time. I think outside of Walsh and Ambrose, once those guys left, West Indies have not had a good bowling, a strong core of bowlers since. You know, they just never really clicked enough to destroy teams and to bowl teams out that the way that our bowlers are now able to do. So, and if you think back as Corey Collymore, Jermaine Lawson, Jerome Taylor, Mervyn Dillon, you know, was the left-hander name, and his son is now playing Pedro Collins. You know, I like Pedro Collins. I won't say no, but they never had a core group. At Tino Best, we had Edwards. With all the pace, they were just erratic. So we never had a good crop of four effective, strong, world-class bowlers that we can call on and say, "Hey, here's the ball. Give us a wicket," and take 20 wickets in a test match. Our bowling department for a long time was not able to do that. And even when they did do it, the batting department let them down. So, congratulations to the West Indies team for batting well against Australia, and our bowlers for taking those wickets, and for our bowlers for humiliating Pakistan in their home ground on their own spinning wicket. We are not known for having good spinners, which is why this victory is even sweeter. And I'm here to celebrate it. So congratulations, West Indies. Continue doing the work that you guys are doing. This was the final test match for the interim coach, and the next test match which I believe is against England in the summer in June, will be spearheaded by Darren Sammy. Hopefully he can work some magic with the team and have us to start, performing better. We've not been performing well in Test cricket at all. So hopefully he will be able to assist us in that regard. All right, so let's move on to the women. So the women, as we know, is currently playing a series against Bangladesh, and they won that series, that ODI series 2-1. So after winning the first game, which I spoke about in my last episode, since then they've played 2 games and they lost the second game. They only was able to score 124 runs whilst chasing 184 runs. Bangladesh went on to win that game for 60 runs. And in the third game, they chased down the 118 runs that was put up by Bangladesh. So they basically won this series 2-1 and have already started the T20I series, which they won the first game. Okay, so West Indies the women are doing well in the shortened format. I don't think they've ever played a test match, but they're doing well against Bangladesh, at least in this series. So hopefully they can win the T20I series as well. And the next match, I believe, is today. For that series, is today. So this is an error on here. It should have been January 28th or January 27th, maybe. Yeah, 28th. Hopefully. So take a look at that if you have the time to do so. And I hope that we will be victorious once again. In that T20I, the first match was won by West Indies, as I said, and Hayley Matthews once again scored a 50. She's in such good form right now. That's a 16th 50 in T20I cricket. She was able to score 60 not out, and she's just on a very, very good run right now. She was not the only one to score 50, however. Deandra Doughton also scored a 50, scoring 51 not out in that first T20I. The other bowler that's been very good for West Indies is Karishma Ramarak. She took 4 for 12 in that third ODI, and she also took 4 wickets for 33 in the second ODI in that losing contest. So she is also doing quite well. That's 8 wickets in that series that she took. So that's good stuff. World-class stuff by Karishma Ramarak. and I wish her well in the upcoming games. Speaking of the women and ODI, we know that the ODI World Cup for women is coming up this year. However, West Indies as well as Bangladesh, which they're playing right now, did not qualify automatically into the World Cup. So they would have to face off against other teams to determine whether they will make it in the final eight for the World Cup. And the other teams in that qualifier are Bangladesh, Pakistan, Ireland, Scotland, and Thailand. This is going to be a nerve-wracking qualifier for West Indies. There is no reason why West Indies should not be in the top six among the women, at least at the senior level, because they're pretty good. They're not as, I mean, they're not the best. I wouldn't say they're the best um, women's team, but they're not the worst. So kind of disappointing that they didn't qualify. Similar to how the men did not qualify for the last World Cup. You know, they had to go through. They did not have automatic qualifications. They had to go through the qualifying rounds, and we all know how traumatizing that could be. But hopefully they were able to pull through, and I'll be looking forward to see how they perform in those matches. Moving on to the under 19, the women under 19. Well, despite their horrible performances against India and Sri Lanka, they were able to beat Malaysia and made it to the Super 6 stage after finishing third in the group. However, they lost both matches in the Super 6 stage against Australia and against Bangladesh. And they lost both of those matches quite embarrassingly, to be honest. Against Australia, they only scored 53 runs, and against Bangladesh, they only scored 54 runs. I mean, this is just not good enough. I clearly there's a huge gap between the talent that's available at the under 19 level and the talent that's available at the senior level. This is something West Indies need to look into seriously and determine where we are in with the women at the under 19 level. This is not a good look for West Indies cricket at all. To be getting bowled out for such low totals in at the World Cup. We are just not competitive enough, and that might not be a good sign for the senior team, because when the older women decide to leave, how are we gonna fare? Where are we gonna get new talent from if our under 19 team is performing so poorly? Hopefully, with the introduction of the women's CPL, some new unrecognized talent might emerge there that West Indies can leverage, but it's not a good sign currently based on our performance at the under 19 level. All right, moving on to some regional news. As I discussed, the West Indies Championship for the tournament is going to be starting tomorrow. So make sure you are available to take a look at those matches on YouTube. I believe the West Indies Cricket Board tends to put these matches up on YouTube. So follow your favorite team, and I would advise that alongside your favorite team, also pay attention to the West Indies academy team. That some hidden talent may be in there. So for me personally, there is one particular player that I'm looking forward to see and monitor his performance. And and I hope he does very well. That's the young player from Antigua, I believe he's from. What's his name? Can't remember right now. Um, but it's a young player from Antigua. I believe he's from Antigua. His batting style reminds me of Marlon Samuels, and I think when he played in the CPL, I think he was like 17 years old. So I'm looking forward to him. For some reason, his name is not clicking. But that championship is gonna be taking place tomorrow, January 29th, and will go all the way up to April 12th, where I feel they're gonna be taking a break during that period to facilitate um, IPL, which is ridiculous if you ask me. But I suspect, based on what I saw in the fixtures, there's like a break sometime around there um, during that IPL period. I don't think there should be any break if you period. We shouldn't be organizing tournaments, local tournaments, to coincide with IPL. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are other reasons for it, but I noticed there was a break somewhere in between in the fixtures. Um, Maybe they could rethink this, get it right. And CPL is growing, guys. The Caribbean Premier League is growing. And I think after 12 or 11 editions, somewhere around there, they are starting to get recognition on worldwide. And this is a statement that they put out, and I'm going to read it. It says that the Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League combined digital and broadcast viewership has gone past the billion mark for the very first time. The total combined viewership figure for 2024 was 1.13 billion, an increase of 32% from 2023 figures. That's a huge percentage increase. So last year's CPL, which the Zooks ended up winning, uh, was heavily watched worldwide. The tournament has seen improved viewership in India, the Caribbean, and the USA, as well as significant increase across CPL's social media channels. These figures have further cemented the CPL's position as one of the most watched cricket tournaments around the world. The tournament was seen around the world with key broadcasting deals in the Caribbean, India, Middle East, UK, USA, Canada, New Zealand, and South Africa. Interestingly, not Australia. I wonder why. And was streamed on the CPS YouTube and Facebook pages in all other territories. The 2024 tournament saw 34 matches take place in 6 countries with games in Antigua, Barbados, Guyana, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, and Trinidad. The 2024 winners were the St. Lucia Kings, who claimed their maiden CPL title at the Guyana National Stadium in Providence, 5 and beyond. Pete Russell, CPL CEO, said this is a huge amount for the CPL, and I agree. Reaching a total viewership figure of over a billion has been a long-term target for a number of years. To get to a figure of 1.13 billion highlights the appeal of CPL across the Caribbean and around the world. The continued growth in interest in the CPL is extremely pleasing, and we are looking forward to using these amazing results as a springboard for further success in 2025 and beyond. So that's it, folks, in this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm gonna be following the championship and bring all the news, all the happenings, good and bad, about the championship that is gonna be taking place, and some other news surrounding West Indies and West Indies players across the world. Thank you, and with that, I leave you with some mimes about the recent test match.